I'm working on two other games right now that I think are both going to make great videos, but one of them ended up being about 3 times longer than I thought it would be, and the other one needs to be released at a specific date. So, in order to make this week's upload and ensure that the dark eye of the algorithm gazes upon me and fills me with its unnatural strength, I needed to deploy a secret weapon I've been thinking about covering for about a month or so. This is Hellish Quart, a fencing game with the goal of having the most realistic and historically accurate sword fighting that is reasonably possible to put in a video game. Many games have tried this, most have failed. Anyone that's ever been 360 trickshot no-scoped by a guy with a longsword in Chivalry knows what I mean. This is somewhat of a holy grail for video games, but I think Hellish Quart has actually pulled it off. Before we start getting into the madman behind this game or any of the specifics, the first thing we need to talk about is the fact that this is in very early access, which is not something I like to do often. In the history of this channel, I've only really covered an early access game one time, unless you count the Monster Sanctuary video, but that one's kind of an edge case because I knew that the game was about to release into its 1.0 version ahead of time. And the other time I covered something that was in early access, I probably shouldn't have. Wait, hang on, it's me, live from the editing room. I've actually done early access 3 times because I forgot that I also did a video on Hades, but that game won like 6,000 awards, so I feel like I'm a little bit exonerated on that one. Back to the video. So, why am I risking my reputation yet again by making an exception this time? Well, first, I really like Joan Jett. And second, I believe in the project, and I think more people should know about it. And third, Kobold, the guy developing the game, isn't exactly your average early access developer. He's an ex-CD Projekt dev that specializes in 3D motion capture animation and has an enormous level of talent and skill. Every animation in this game is motion captured and based on real historical sword techniques, and most people who look at the gameplay immediately recognize the sheer quality of the animation work. On top of this, when this game was just a free demo, Kobold had 5 characters in working order, and since the early access release a couple months ago, we've gotten 1 added to the roster with another one on the way. The pace of this game's development, considering how absurdly complex each character is unreal for one man. Plus, Kobold is Polish, and as I've stated many times in the past, Polish game devs are built different. With a developer as talented and skilled as this, who has a genuine passion for historical fencing, to the point where even the clothing every character wears is a 3D scan of historically accurate clothing, this project is in incredibly reliable hands, and I see no reason why it won't be continued to be developed for years. Plus, if I don't see this game's full roster of characters get completed, I'm going to freak out. I am on a mission from God to make sure this is the timeline where this game is finished. My online platform exists to convince people to support this game. Even if you decide that Hellish Quart isn't in a state that you would be interested in playing, I just want as many people as possible to know it exists and be aware of its development. So, what's the content situation look like in early access? Well, it's pretty bare bones. We have a roster of 6 characters, with a 7th on the way. Each one has a unique fencing style and a unique moveset, like you would expect from any fighting game. Obviously, there is multiplayer. All of the footage you have seen so far are matches I played with my roommate. If you have 2 controllers, you can play local multiplayer the way you would expect, and you can play with your friends with Steam's remote play, meaning only one of you has to actually own the game, which is nice. And as you should be able to tell from my footage, if you have good internet, the remote play runs very well. And finally, you can download this janky third-party client and host or join games online, but your results may vary. I've had great experiences hosting online, and I've had bad ones. Eventually, Kobold plans to integrate actual online matchmaking, but right now the best way to play multiplayer is with your boys on Steam or in person, which is how most people want to play multiplayer games anyway. The next major feature that is currently playable is Survival Mode. In Survival Mode, you fight random AI opponents that get increasingly difficult over time until you lose. My current win record is 20. This is actually the mode that most of my playtime is in. A lot of the time when I want to just hang out and listen to a podcast or take a break from working on YouTube stuff, I'll open up Survival Mode and do a couple rounds to pass the time. It's either this or get extremely pissed at Go problems. Okay, how the fuck? And that's basically it content-wise. Future content includes a story mode, which is actually being written by the guy who wrote the book series the game is based on. You can watch a video on that over here on Kobold's channel, and a bunch of other videos that talk about his development on Hellish Quart. But most importantly, the roster is planned to be expanded significantly, which I need to see. Who is this old guy? What the fuck is he all about? So, now you know exactly what to expect from buying this game in terms of content, if you choose to throw your hat in the ring like I did. So, let's talk about the way the game actually works mechanically. Unlike most fighting games, rather than having a series of hitboxes on everything, Hellish Quart is a physics simulation. The blades are swinging around in physical space, and that leads to all kinds of wild, emergent gameplay and cinematic moments.
Oh, I got Superman punched.
That fucking blocked the downward attack.
It did. It blocked the fucking kendo strike.
That was bonkers, dude. This is what allows the game's fencing to be as realistic as it is, and it allows for very detailed simulations of things like the strong and weak portion of the blade, which, unless you're familiar with how real-world fencing works, probably doesn't make any sense to you. So everyone get ready, it's time for a physics lesson. Let's look at a sword. It doesn't really matter what kind, this is a universal thing. In fencing, this portion of the sword up here is considered to be the weak part of the blade, and this portion down here is considered the strong portion of the blade. What this means is, if you pair your opponent's cut with this part of the blade, you will probably be fine, but if you pair your opponent's cut with this part of the blade, because of how leverage works, it's very likely that their cut will slip through your parry, and you'll either lose that round or need an ambulance, depending on if this particular fencing match is going on in your local fencing club or at 2 a.m. behind a gas station. Because Hellish Quart is physically simulated, this principle works, and it's possible to break through your opponent's guard like this if you get your spacing just right. Kobold also has a video about how this works on his channel. Of course, the downside of physically simulating a combat system like this is that sometimes you'll get some pretty impressive physics and animation jank. There or something.
What did your arm do? Did you see that?
Yeah, that's an advanced technique. Other times you will also get touches that seem like they should trigger a victory but don't. This second issue can be heavily mitigated just by turning up the damage multipliers and options, which I highly recommend that everyone does. You could also turn the damage all the way down and just cut the shit out of each other like that scene in The Duelist if you want, I guess. Okay, so the game is physically simulated. Who cares? How does it actually work? How do I push buttons on a controller and make swords go? And don't fucking tell me you play this game with a keyboard. I'm already pissed off enough that my roommate does. Fighting games are notorious for being inaccessible to most of the population, with button combos that look like a fucking quantum equation and lightning-fast gameplay you can't read unless you were 15 on Adderall and have been playing fighting games since age 4. Hellish Quart is not like this. First of all, your guards are automatic. If you aren't pressing an attack, your character will just automatically parry. You don't need to waste brain power trying to figure out which direction to block from or anything like that. Every character in the game also has an alternate long guard that you can go into, which will change your moveset slightly. Unless you're playing with Isabella, who uses a longsword with a couple different guards. This is how longswords work. That's a topic for a whole video. Go find one of the YouTube fencing nerds and they'll explain it. So, being on guard isn't something you need to worry about. How do attacks work? Well, there are 4 attack buttons, sort of like in Tekken. You have a high right, a high left, a low right, and a low left. If you happen to get too close to swing a sword, your character will do a punch or a kick instead, which throws off your opponent's balance. You also have a push and a grab, but the grapple mechanics aren't really finished yet, so the grabs aren't very important. Push can be useful though. And finally, there are some very simple inputs that you can do for other specific attacks and combos, none of them longer than 3 inputs. It's very easy to understand and get your brain around, and anyone, no matter their level of experience with fighting games, can probably pick this up and have fun. Some characters, especially Isabella, will have slightly different moves depending on if their left foot or right foot is forward, which I'm sure some hardcore guys out there will learn to take advantage of, but this isn't something that complicates the game in any practical way. Isabella is my favorite character to play, and I'm dyslexic, so I barely know the difference between right or left half the time. Usually, unless it's a glancing blow or you get lucky, getting hit with a blade on any part of the body will result in a loss for that round, meaning these matches can end very quickly.
Oh!
Doubles are also common. That one was that was textbook double. They like paint pictures of that one as a warning. So in order to be successful, you need to be very patient and wait for an opportunity to slip through your opponent's guard. It's a very fun game where most of the time even losing is fun because the matches are so short and the fights look so cool. If you want to support an incredible project being put together by an incredible guy that actually knows his shit, both in terms of historical fencing and game development, and has the skills to back it up, consider tossing our boy some money by getting into early access. If you don't want to buy in, but you think the game looks good and want to get it when it's more feature complete, wishlist it on Steam, sub to Kubold on YouTube, and follow him on Twitter for updates. And if you want to see more videos like this one, consider subscribing. A like and a comment also help out. I also have a Discord community, which you can join with a link down in the description. And please make a blood sacrifice to the bell to get notifications. I find a goat works best. And finally, follow me on Twitter so you don't miss any important updates. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Here's a montage of cool Hellish Quart moments that I recorded to play us out.
Nice. Nice. I got impatient. I'm going to join Avalanche. What?
Laszlo's the best, dude.
Not sure why.
Yeah, usually that's not a good sign. Ooh,
There we go.
That thrust is really good. The pizza is aggressive.
Nice.
Yeah. That one
Very
works. If you
nice.
time that, it works really good, but it's kind of hard to time.
Nice. Nice counter.
Local news. Russian man literally too angry to die. Nope. I was wrong. Yeah, The Walking Dead is the only show that that nobody should watch, but like I have to keep watching it. It's the only one. Like I stopped watching Supernatural. What are some other shows that went on too long and should have quit?
Oh, that was a very good counter.
Yeah.
That, you can tell by that really deep clang, that just went straight through my guard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really hoping to back away and then, like, thrust.
I knew what
into
you were going for. You were fucking hoping that your thrust was going to be faster than the downward swing.